Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about astrology and the death of Ana Benevides. Now, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but first off, I want to say I offer my prayers and condolences to the close friends and family members of her. Um, some of you may have heard this was the 23-year-old woman that died tragically at a Taylor Swift concert that was held in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and terrible that she passed away, at such a young age. I don't have any birth information on this person. I know that I know she likely was born in the year 2000, considering she was 23 years old at the time of her passing, and this took place on November 17th. So we're through the majority of the year. So the thing about this is I'm going to talk about, mainly, regarding, the chart at the time, the event chart, and also to, the fact that she was likely born in the year 2000. Her Neptune was likely in Aquarius, at least the relatively early degrees of it, early to relatively early degrees of it. Because of this, transit Pluto was likely close to her Neptune. It might not have made an actual conjunction, maybe a loose conjunction, but that could indicate a death. That can be, Neptune, I would say, has a connection with dizziness, and it's also confounding and confusing, and it's a death that, occurred that may, be seen as confusing and confounding to some. If you're fainting, she died of cardiac arrest, and that involves, I believe she fainted, and right at the time prior to fainting, there may have been some dizziness. I would say Neptune, I would say, is connected with dizziness. So at the time of her, passing, this shows that the death may, have been tied into this with transit Pluto likely not being far from her natal Neptune. And the thing about this too is, as far as her natal chart goes, I could only speculate that there may have been something going on naturally with the sun, one way or the other, because the sun is associated with the heart. It has, connection with, cardiac arrest. Therefore, would have a connection with that. And Mars, as well could have played a role. Excessive heat levels. Maybe she had her Mars in Leo or another fire sign. The thing about it is she could have had, affliction. It could be whether natally and or by transit afflictions to her natal sun. Again, the sun being connected with the heart. Could also be, when I look at the actual event chart, what really stood out to me, now I used a speculative time, approximate speculative time of 7:40 p.m. for that, when this happened, because there was some, website had the time of Taylor Swift's concert start at 7:30 p.m. and it was apparently her second song she sang. Around about the time of her second song is when this woman had fainted. So I put the approximate time at 7:40 p.m. because of that. And at this time, the sun was making a very tight conjunction to Mars. Now again, the sun in Scorpio 25 degrees, Mars in Scorpio at 25 degrees. The sun again is connected with the heart. Mars is associated with attack, its pain, and physical related issues. The thing too is, as well, Mars is also about heat, and you have that very close proximity to the sun. I can understand why there was, maybe an excessive heat at the time of this event. And Scorpio is about control. There may have been difficulty in having that control in that. The thing is, when I look at this, as well, It's the fact, in the event chart you also have Uranus opposing the sun, which could give an indicator of possibly Uranus being connected with circulation and being opposite the sun, the circulation being away from the physical body. And it's also, having a conflict with having the circulation, to the physical body. And also, another thing too, is that in this girl's natal chart, I wouldn't be, or maybe through, if it was not in the natal chart, perhaps through a transit, there may have been some issues, with Mercury and Mars, an adverse aspect natally, perhaps between Mercury and Mars, or through a transit somehow, because Mercury is connected with the brain, Mars is blood flow, and if you have those planets in adverse aspect to each other, that could show more like a difficulty in the blood flow to the brain. Now, also too, the thing about this as well, because you had the excessive heat. This was due to, my understanding, dehydration. The fact that she died of this cardiac arrest, there was excessive heat there again. What I was stating before about the Mars-Sun conjunction, very tight conjunction at the time of this event. And I'm going off a little on a Gemini moon tangent here. What was interesting too is that, based on some charts online, it's speculative, it's not 100% confirmed, but that Taylor Swift may have, a Scorpio, a late Scorpio rising, in her chart, and the sun was at 25 degrees Scorpio at the time, so this was a time, which was opportune for her to shine. Now, I don't know if she may have cut the concert short as a result of this girl, going into the cardiac arrest at the time. But anyway, it's really, and look at the event chart as well. I mean, you have Capricorn on the cusp of the 8th house, which is really, it can indicate more despondency, sadness, at the time of a death. Pluto and the moon in Capricorn are also in the 8th house as well. So naturally, you have the emotions at this time, the feelings being very sad, people feeling very disconsolate, and in the 8th house of death. And it's also a time where people may have tried to control their emotions very strongly, having Pluto making the conjunction to the moon, but at the same time, that could also indicate that the emotions at this time may have been more turbulent and very intense as well. Now, another thing, I see, the event chart, that Saturn, Saturn actually makes a square to the sun out of sine square. Saturn in early Pisces, the sun being in late Scorpio. This is where you're having, it can show some more difficulties, physically, and maybe the heart having to work harder, for some people, due to this, I would say due to this, the heat at this particular event, the excessive heat. People also, dealing with dehydration. I'm sure she wasn't the only one that may have dealt with it, and another thing that stands out to me that I would say is of some significance is the fact that you have Mercury, let's say, making a loose square to Saturn. Some of you may think, well, what is their importance in that? Well, the thing about that is that when you have, Mercury is connected with our communication. Saturn is fear, apprehension. I think, there may have been some people maybe were just reluctant and apprehensive in terms of speaking out at this time, which would be hard to fathom considering you have Mercury being in Sagittarius, that could be very blunt and even tactless, and even, not worried about the repercussions one may face as a result of speaking. But the fact that you have that square to Saturn tells me that, you can, there may have been more reluctance collectively for people, speaking out at this particular point in time. And, some people may wonder, like, as far as, my videos on these matters, people passing away, what significance is this? What do we actually learn from it? How does this really help us? And that would be, a good question. It's a fair question. And the thing about it is, like, I could illustrate, I would say, from this example in this chart, the fact that you have the sun making a conjunction to Mars can indicate, the excessive heat levels, and it lets you know, that, what one could actually do. Maybe, people should have been more hydrated coming to this concert. I don't believe they were permitting water or water bottles at this place. You may want to confer that and look that up online. I'm not 100% sure on that. But, as an example, you can see what you can actually do is, like, you can look, when you have like certain events somewhere, calculate the chart for it, and you can look for things in there, that may, based on the chart, that may transpire, and you can take, the necessary precautions for that. It's like if you have, something where, if a chart, let's say you calculate a chart for an event chart prior to it actually, happening, and Mars is very prominent in it. Say you have Aries or Mars prominent in the chart, that could indicate, potential for more volatility and turbulence. So you would, be willing, at that time, you may want to say, okay, maybe I better have, some more people with me, as as a reason, because of that, as an example, or get, I don't know if it could be getting, talking to security and ask them, well, what do you advise me to do, considering I feel, this could be a more, could be some more volatile, fans in the stands as an example. What would you suggest? And, things of that nature, and being able to take, the right, precautions that are necessary. Make sure you're able, to be in a position to defend yourself if necessary. That could even be if somebody is having, let's say, the transit of Mars hitting their own, their sun or ascendant, or even an adverse aspect to the, their sun or ascendant in their natal chart. It's not just about the event chart itself. It's about transits that the person, may be experiencing, at the time of the event that is taking place. So anyway, that's really what I wanted to get at. And again, I do offer my prayers and condolences to Ana. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, Benevides. And again, 23 years old, really like the prime of your life. You're so young. For somebody to die unnecessarily, and the thing about it is that, the passing took place due to her having, such an unbridled passion, for, this, for the music, and for Taylor Swift. And, Taylor, it's really, that the people, sadly, a lot of people are so, infatuated, with certain celebrities, and they just go to extreme lengths to actually have, to make sure that they are going to be there, and they're going to be loyal to these people at any cost. And interestingly enough, you do have, that's the sun, again, being the fact it's in Scorpio, and you have, these, extreme measures. And, again, maybe that, that, say that sun conjunct Mars in Scorpio maybe showed where this was very, extreme heat at this time of this event. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.